This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'm delighted to be joined by Eddie Hearn out here in Las Vegas. Eddie, firstly, how are you?
I'm good. Did you notice that all the Americans did a huddle? And you and IFL and Michelle are all waiting for your little individual pieces of meat, aren't you? You know what I mean?
That's it. Well, we want our individual pieces, like you
No,
say.
you want your meat, don't you?
Yeah. Huddles don't work for us, Eddie. You should know that by now. But we appreciate the time as always. Let's start off with the reason we're in this gym. Obviously, Teofimo Lopez, George Kambosos Jr. Getting ready for their bout later this year, or later this month rather. Just touch on seeing Teofimo in the gym. Obviously, he's a machine. I've seen him in the gym. What do you make of it?
He's not just a machine, he's a great character. I mean, I've been here for about an hour and a half now. I mean, it's absolutely packed with media. He's a star. And it's quite weird when I come in because he kind of looks at me as if to say, I'm not sure about you. Do you know what I mean? But I think you're all right, but you're not really on my team, are you? And I'm chuffed to be promoting his next fight because I just said there when he was in the gym, that's that guy beat Lomachenko. You know what I mean? I think sometimes we forget that because it's not that he struggled with momentum, it's just that the pandemic and everything with the Kambosos fight has just slowed his momentum down. But you have to say, you know, everyone was so high on Lomachenko as the pound-for-pound number 2 or 1 or whatever you wanted to call him. He beat him. So I feel like you should be putting him in that category. And Kambosos has got a very tough fight. And of course we've got Haney Diaz the week after. And my aim is to make the winners of those fights fight each other. I
mean, you said the aim is to make that fight. Theoretically speaking, Eddie, they're both fighting a week apart. There is no reason why they shouldn't face off next year.
Absolutely, and you know, I've already said to Bob, whatever way you want to do it, let's just make it happen. Keep talking about these 4 kings or princes or whatever you want to call them, but until they fight each other, we can't compare them to that era. But imagine Teo against Devin or Tank against Teo, or like these are brilliant fights, and this is the next generation of boxing. You know, you look at those fights taking place now. All these big fights that are happening at the moment, all the guys are 30, 32, 34, Terence Crawford, 35, whatever it is. These guys are like, they're in their early 20s. We've got so much time and so many great moments with these fighters, but we've just got to bring them together and let them fight. And they're all up for it, by the way. It's not them that's going to stop it. So, but first things first, 2 massive fights back to back, and hopefully those guys come through.
You have had Devin Haney and Jojo Diaz officially announced now, or No Diaz as you called him, No-Go Diaz. Just wanted to touch on that fight and why it took that bit longer just to get it over the line.
Multiple things really. Of course, they'd agreed a deal to do it on a Golden Boy show. If Golden Boy wanted him to go on another show, they probably wanted to make some money as well. Jojo wanted the same money, I think more money to fight Devin, and we just got there in the end. Shout out to DAZN, who made it happen. Without them, it wouldn't be possible. And it was a really important fight for us to make because in guiding Devin Haney's career, I think we've done a brilliant job right now. And the Linares fight last time was the perfect move at that time. But I just felt like he needed another fight like this. And when we was looking at the alternatives, they weren't the fights that were going to give him the progress that he needed. You know, and he's stuck with us. He's believed in us. We've delivered. DAZN have delivered. And now you've got a brilliant fight. It's a really tough fight. Jojo Diaz is a tremendous fighter, you know, and he's really confident of winning that fight. So, be my first fight that I've done at MGM Grand, which again is like dreams for me to be promoting in venues like that. And I'm really excited about the run in to Christmas. You know, I mean, next week you've got Kid Galahad, Terry Harper, Chris Billum-Smith, and then you've got Munguia against Rosado in the evening. Then you've got our 4 World Championship fight, quadruple header with Andrade, Julio Cesar Martinez, Ahmad Aliyev, Kaylee Reese as well. And then after that, you've got Teofimo Lopez against Kambosos. Then you've got Devin Haney. Then you've got Conor Benn and Katie Taylor. Big show that hopefully we can announce the full card tomorrow. Then you've got the Chisora Parker card, which is huge. Plus you've got Bilbao with Le Haraja. You've got a Mexico show to be. It's like 10 shows in 8 weeks. But those 2 were really special for the calendar because, you know, there's been a lot of talk that Matchroom, you know, they're out of the US market, stuff like that. It couldn't be further from the truth, and that's a real statement of intent from us that we're here to stay with a big end to the year and ready to have a massive 2022.
With the exception to the end of the year, Eddie, how would you assess Matchroom USA this year?
Good. I mean, you look at it, we've done 2 Canelo Alvarez's fights. We've broke the record for the indoor attendance with 73,000. What we did was we probably waited a month or 6 weeks too long whilst we were sorting out the Canelo Alvarez stuff. So, we had Devin Haney, which was at the beginning of June, and then we didn't have a show till October. And that was probably, we had shows in Mexico, but probably we should have put another show in there. We had a show fall through, main event from COVID, can't even remember what that was, Strada Chocolatito. But it's been a great year, and the end to the year has been fantastic. I don't see people putting on the kind of schedules that we do, globally or even in America. Look at that running of fights. And by the way, they aren't fights that are costing you $80 every time to watch it. And the end to the year is tremendous, but we were slow in August and September. August is always slow, but probably should have done maybe one more show in there. But until we sorted out the Canelo conundrum, that's really what took the time.
Lever has told me that there is a press conference coming up for Devin Haney, Jojo Diaz tomorrow, but I know there was a few difficulties trying to get a venue. What actually happened around all of that?
I feel like the PBC just didn't really want us to do a press conference tomorrow, and didn't want us to do it at the MGM properties. So we've been just securing another venue for that. I couldn't feel less welcome really this week. Not just with the PBC, by the way, but with a lot of other promoters as well. And it's just how it is. I don't expect to be welcomed with open arms because I'm a threat. And they probably look at me and think, what a complete tosser this bloke is. He's coming in, but that's my style. And we're not going anywhere. I'm only a young pup. Look at all these old other guys. They're done. They're virtually done. So we just got to keep producing great fight nights. We've got to keep learning. We've got to keep keep delivering. We've got to keep consistency. Consistency is always key. And as long as we do that, we're going to be around for a long, long time. And I feel like we're getting a great handle on the US market as well. And I didn't expect many favours this week, but that's what you're up against.
Can I ask what your relationship is like with PBC, Eddie?
Pretty non-existent, really. I don't feel they want to do any work with us, really. They never really have. I mean, look, I've got a really good relationship with Louis de Cubas. He's a friend, but we've always done tremendous business. But there is no desire from them to work with us on anything, really, which is a shame, because we're more than ready and willing to. But I guess, in the past when we come over here, maybe I made some comments that tickled them up the wrong way. But there's a lot of business to do. But we're not going to spend our time worrying about people who don't want to work with us. We've got our own plans and agenda, and I'm here if they want to work. If they don't, there's nothing I can do about it.
Moving away from that, Eddie, obviously let's touch on the other reason we're in Vegas. Canelo Alvarez, your old pal.
Yeah.
We're getting ready for his undisputed bout on Saturday night. Have you seen him yet?
Yeah, we were playing a bit of poker last night. Maurizio Sulaiman took all the money though, unfortunately. But listen, I'm here, not promoting the show or claiming I'm promoting the show at all. Just here as a fan, as a mate, and just he asked me to come out, and it's a pleasure to be around him and see him make history, because this is something he wants really badly. He wants to become undisputed champion, and he's just one win away from doing it, making history for Mexico and Latin America. And he's as chilled as he always is. Never seen a fighter more confident or comfortable on fight week, and looking forward to the fight.
You said he's chilled and comfortable, but he also said yesterday, a couple of days ago rather, at Grand Rivals, it's personal for him, because obviously going back to what's happened between himself and Caleb in the build-up. With that in mind, what type of performance do you expect Canelo to produce?
So he doesn't fight off emotion. He's a cold guy in that respect. He will fight exactly the same way, whether it's personal or if it's not personal. He might want to do a little bit more damage, but you won't see him fighting erratically or going out trying to take this guy out. He'll take his time. He'll bide his time. A lot of this fight depends on Canelo-Plant. When you look at the resumes, which I was doing the other day, it's chalk and cheese, isn't it? No disrespect to some of the guys Caleb's boxed, but he's never boxed an elite middleweight or super middleweight. He's boxed some solid world-class contenders, but never boxed an elite fighter. Doesn't mean he's not good enough to compete up there, but we just don't know, do we? So if he's not, he's going to. It could be a demolishment, if that's even a word. But if it, I do rate him as a fighter, but I can't see him beating Canelo.
I would choose your words carefully, Eddie, knowing your eye and the gym that Caleb trains in. So
he's coming in at 5:30. Okay. So if he comes in, as far as I'm concerned, he's unbelievable, and he could well win this fight.
Eddie, just with Caleb, do you see him as a tougher test compared to Billy Joe and Callum?
Slightly different styles. I mean, both very intelligent fighters. I believe Billy moves better than Caleb. Maybe Caleb's got a little bit more pop than Billy Joe. But both good, both great champions. It's just that when you get in there, sometimes it's just a whole nother level. And I thought Billy did well against Canelo, and I think Caleb will be competitive. He's a winner, and he's come through a lot of disappointment in his career and life to get to this point. He's not going to lay down. I just don't think he's as good as Canelo, but we don't really know because he's never boxed at that level before. And if he's got those levels, then he's going to give a great fight.
And you saw your Instagram live where you mentioned Canelo could face somebody in the UK next year. It's a small pond in terms of potential fighters. So is anybody you have got in kind of your mind as to who could face?
Well, you got John Ryder is potting around as mandatory in that weight class. I think Chris Eubank Jr. is also a great fight. We don't work with him, so it's obviously more difficult to make that fight. But I know that Canelo Alvarez wants to fight in the UK, and the Ryder fight is one that we could make very easily for him. But he's got plans to fight internationally around the world, and there's a number of big fights out there for him with Matchroom, with PBC, with Top Rank, whoever it could be. And that's the beauty of the position he's in, where he can just take his fight next week or the week after, just look at the options and say, okay, that one next for me. And but first things first, he's got to get through Saturday.
John Ryder, as we mentioned him, Dimitri Bivol, what is the latest with that?
We discussed the fight with John to take place in Russia. I think him and Tony felt that they'd rather bide their time and maybe look at early next year to try and do it in the UK. But who knows? This Canelo opportunity might present itself, but we'll see what happens Saturday.
I just want to get an update from you on that Manchester card, and there's some very, very good matchups, Eddie, I have to say. So, but what's Vlasov in particular? Yeah,
it's a tremendous card. I mean, look, Chisora Parker's a big fight in itself, but beyond that, Buatsi against Vlasov. I was talking to World of Boxing yesterday, and Vadim Kornilov, who was quite concerned for Buatsi in that fight. He thinks that Vlasov is the favourite in that fight. Fair play to Buatsi stepping up. It's a real fight. Gongora against Richards, brilliant fight for the IBO world title. Zelfa Barrett's got a tough fight against Torimo. That's an eliminator for the IBF title, of which we've got obviously taking place on the TO against Cambosa's card. Also, Jack Cullen gets a shot at the European title, which I'm so happy about because he really has sort of paid his due. Great win for him last time out, and it's a brilliant card. Sandy Ryan. David Naika, the Olympic medalist as well. Jordan Thompson back on that card. Callum French as well. And there's another big championship fight to be added still to that card. Did huge pre-sale today on Fight Pass. General sale tomorrow, which is Friday, depending on when this goes out. And it's a massive night of boxing.
Liverpool on the 11th. Yeah. You said Ben's opponent would be announced this week. Yeah. Can you announce it now?
No, I can't announce it.
Well, this is going to go out tomorrow, so...
I actually saw him today, if that gives you,
Well, I've heard Chris Algieri.
Yeah, one of the guys in the mix, for sure. As I've said, Robert Guerrero, Victor Ortiz, Chris Algieri. These are the fights that we want to make. They're all brilliant fights. They're all really tough fights for Conor Benn. But he's ready. He's ready for a big fight. He's ready to make a statement. And that card as well is an absolute cracker. In the same league as Manchester. We're going to end this year with a massive bang.
Tommy Fury, Jake Paul was announced last week. Just want to get your thoughts on that, Eddie, and how much pressure do you see on Tommy? Because we've seen Tyson mention changing his name. John Fury's had a few choice words as well.
It's quite funny. I mean, I can't believe that Jake Paul would win that fight, but I don't know enough about Tommy Fury. I watched him last time out. It wasn't the best, but they're only taking that fight, Jake Paul, because they're convinced they beat him. But I can't believe that a pro fighter, Tyson's brother, that he can't get through Jake Paul. But listen, it's a mad world we live in. Who knows? Wish him all the best. Seeing Jake and Nikisa have Most Valuable Promotions tomorrow. to try and get the Amanda Serrano-Katie Taylor fight up and running, which we're quite close to now. And I don't mind what he's doing. People keep giving him, he's training properly, he's sparring, he's fighting. He's been fighting fighters, albeit MMA fighters, but now he fights a boxer. He's fighting a 7-0 boxer. And quite remarkably, this is the toughest fight of Tommy Fury's career in his 8th pro fight. And it's the toughest fight of Jake Paul's career as well. Madness.
We've been talking a lot about Whyte Fury recently, but I've seen Joe Joyce come up as a potential opponent for Tyson. Do you think no matter what, it will be Fury-Whyte next?
Only if he vacates the belt, which I can't see him doing. I don't see why the Fury-Whyte fight is so much bigger than Fury against Joe Joyce, and the money involved is so much bigger. Why wouldn't you just fight Dillian Whyte, especially when he's your mandatory? So, Maurizio's here. I'm sure you'll have a chat with him later, and I'm pretty confident that at the convention that fight will be ordered.
I've seen Bob Arum knocking about as well. Will you plan to meet with him to try and talk about that this week?
Don't think he probably wants to talk to me either, to be honest with you. I saw him today. Tomorrow night we've got Maiva Hamadouche unifying against Michaela Mayer over the road at the Virgin Hotels. So look, always happy to talk to Bob, but I don't think they'd be very happy that fight's about to get called. But I don't see why they shouldn't be. It's a really good fight.
Is it a fight which needs purse bids?
Not necessarily. Happy to accept a deal. I mean, Dillian Whyte, as everyone keeps bringing up, supposedly a free agent, but ultimately he's going to want us to put our biggest artillery and purse bid behind that if it goes that way. But if a fair offer and a good opportunity comes up for Dillian Whyte, no problem taking an offer as well.
Now, I spoke to Sugar Hill earlier just to touch on AJ. He said he's open arms, he'd take him in to help him with a rematch for Alexander Usyk. I know realistically that would not happen because of his commitments with Tyson, but is that the type of style AJ needs going into the rematch?
Not really. I think AJ needs just the style of, to give him belief in what he's doing, confidence in what he's doing, and make him feel comfortable. I think his trip out here was brilliant. Like I said in interviews, it wasn't an interview process for himself with trainers, just going to look at different environments and talk to trainers, and he had a great time. And over the next month or so, I'm sure he'll start looking at his setup and also where he should base himself for that camp.
Just a few more quick ones from me, Eddie. Liam Smith, Jesse Vargas, so you mentioned that for January. Do you think that's possible?
I really do, yeah. I think that fight's going to get made, probably out here in Vegas. Liam Smith's all over that fight, Jesse Vargas all over that fight. That fight will almost certainly happen in January, mid to late January, in Las Vegas.
Also saw, obviously, you've won the Leewood and Michael Conlon purse bids. Brilliant fight. When and where, though?
Looking at dates and options, obviously you've got 3 options, really. You've got Madison Square Garden for the huge Irish Day, Paddy's Day celebrations, Irish Day, and you've got Nottingham Forest. I believe that can sell out that stadium. They've been looking for a fight for a long time. You've got Belfast as well. Just a brilliant fight, and really pleased to get that one as well for the DAZN schedule.
Final one, Eddie. I saw some concerning photos of Scott Fitzgerald over Twitter earlier. Just wanted to get your kind of an update or anything at all, if you know how Scott's doing.
Yeah, it's to be honest, it's an ongoing problem that has literally been ongoing for a year and a half now. Steve Wood, his manager, myself, we talk every week, sometimes every day, about the problems that Scott has been facing. He went into Sporting Chance rehab. Not a lot of people know that. I feel like a lot of stuff will get documented now, and that is true. We got him in there. Steve really helped with that. He went through that process. He got better. And then he got worse, and then he got better, and then we managed to get him back in the ring, and then following that, he it pisses me off, the people around him, to be honest with you, because he's struggling, and he does have issues and problems, and people just don't help him, in Preston, and the big problem with Scott right now is that he needs help, but doesn't believe he needs help. And sometimes, it's easy to say, do this, do that, but sometimes only you can help yourself. And I've been speaking to Steve Wood a number of times today, and we've been trying, and we're trying now to get him that help that he needs, but he has to accept that. And some of the things we saw today, which I couldn't believe what I saw, maybe is what it takes for you to look at yourself and say, I need help. Do you know what I mean? But again, it sickens me, the people around him who are supposedly friends of his that watch him do this. What sort of friend is that? You know, and it's so sad to see the pictures, because Scott is a lovely kid. He's such a tremendous fighter with so much potential, but he has major problems, you know, and he can't get himself out of that vicious circle of I'm back, I'm training, I'm in boxing, and then I'm back, you know. And what we tried to do is keep him in the fights and keep him in boxing, because it was the only thing that was keeping him there. When he was training and when he was motivated, he was well. But then when it stopped, it was just spiralling out of control. And this is the lowest point right now. And this is the point now where, you know, having spoken to Steve today, we need to try again to get him to get help. But to a point, it's going to take him to say, okay, I agree with you. Because all the other times, he wouldn't agree with us. You know, we've all tried so hard, you know, particularly Steve and particularly his dad, to help. But you have to help yourself. And now, after what we saw today, I hope, as bad as that was, this is the moment where he says, yes, you're right. Because I want to see him come back. I want to see him achieve his potential as a fighter, but I want him to be happy. And it's heartbreaking, keep seeing him go through this situation. You know, when he came out of Sporting Chance, he came straight to my office, and it was, you know, it's like a new man. And it's you know, addiction. It's a terrible thing. But we need to make sure he gets that help. But it's got to be him as well acknowledging that. And hopefully, as like I said, as bad as it was to see those images, hopefully now's the time where he'll acknowledge he needs help.
Of course, Eddie, I'm sure everybody, like myself, will wish him the best, and hopefully we do see him better soon. But we'll leave it there now. I know there's a massive queue which is formed behind us, and you've got more one-on-ones to do. So it's a pleasure as always. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.